Hi guys, welcome to the Panda MX-5 channel. Today we're going to be working on installing the rear braces on this car. I've already dragged it up from the back, got it moved up here without hitting anything, so that's a good plus. I have the OEM rear brace I'm trying to make work with the Flying Miata Cannon brace today. I have to cut some brackets off of the rear subframe for the bracket, a couple things like that. A little bit of modification of the brace itself, shortening it, that kind of thing, so it'll fit with both of them. Since the Cannon brace is designed for a 90 to 91 car that doesn't have the OEM brace, so I have to make it work with both of them because I want all the stiffness I can get out of this chassis. So we're going to start with cutting things off, do a little measuring, and then start bolting it all back up, do a little welding, make sure everything's all good, and then we'll put it back on the ground. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we have to cut this bracket for the OEM brace off because the Flying Miata one mounts up flush to this surface, so hangs out a little bit, so I'm just going to cut this flat with that on both sides, and I should be able to mount the Flying Miata brace. I'm going to get that one mounted all up first because that's the one I really want, and then I'll work with modifying the OEM one. I'd move it back here or something just to make it fit later. Alright, so we got the brackets for the OEM brace cut off. Now the Flying Miata one uses this bolt and then one of the bolts for the sway bar right here, and then it just kind of hooks through here, triangulates all this, hooks both bottom ends of the subframe together, keeps them from squishing up or anything like that. So I'm just going to pull these bolts out, get these little bolts, test fit the brace, make sure it's all going to work unless I have to cut or grind down anything else. And other than that, we should be good to go. Alright, so everything's all good. I just took out the alignment bolts for the lower control arms, and then I found the bolts for these. So we're just going to go ahead and test fit the brace, see if I have to cut or grind anything else, and if not, we'll just bolt it on, call it a day, and then start working on the OEM brace. Alright, so we're ready to bolt this up. The only thing is the slots on here aren't big enough for the alignment washer things, whatever you want to call it, so those are going to have to go behind it. I'll just flip the bolt around like this, the slide-on washer will go on, then this will go on, then I'll put the nut on top of that, and then we'll be all good to go. Alright, so we're almost all the way done. I was putting a little exhaust plate in, whatever that's for. I ran into a little issue with the subframe. When I'm sticking these bolts through here, if it'll line up, it hits on the subframe back here before the bolt is even half the way in. So I'm going to have to cut the bolt down a little bit. I'll just put the nut on it, cut down maybe 3-4 threads, try it again, maybe cut a little more. And then that way I'll be able to put it all the way on, use all the correct washers and everything, make sure I get a proper fitment on this without it like bending my brace out of the way or something like that. Alright, so the Cannon brace is fully installed. I just cut about 3 threads off of those inner bolts on the little exhaust cutout piece, whatever you want to call that. Now it fits just fine. I wasn't able to use any washers though, but on the other ones I was, so it's all good. I'll probably put some Loctite on them or something like that, just to make sure they don't vibrate loose. But now we're going to start looking at this OEM one. I'm probably going to have to cut it and move this lower bar here in about 6 inches or so. We're going to go ahead and start looking at that, see how we're going to mount it in there, and then we should be almost done. Alright, so I have the OEM brace mocked up in here, and what I've decided I'm going to do is use the stock tabs that I cut off to fit the Flying Miata brace and just move them back, because there's this spot where the pipe is crimped right here, so I have it sitting up on top of here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm just going to drill through here, weld this tab back onto the rear subframe, and then I'll just be able to bolt through it again, and it'll do the exact same thing. I can keep the factory brace along with the Flying Miata Cannon brace, and it'll just stiffen up my rear end so much more than just having either one of these. So we're just gonna start. I'm gonna clamp these where I have them, take them down, drill the hole, and then I'll be able to stick the bolt through to hold it in place while I weld it back to the subframe. Alright, so I have the brackets all mocked up on here. I just stuck the bolt through. I just drilled a new hole about an inch or so down from the original hole on either side. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not in the way of the exhaust or anything that's going to be there in the future, so it doesn't bother me at all. And then I just bolted the bracket on here. I have it all marked out where it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to stick this up in the car, use the other 4 bolts just to hold it up in there. I'll tack weld these onto the rear subframe. Then I'll be able to take the brace off, finish welding this the rest of the way all the way around on both sides, and then I'll be able to still remove my brace just like OEM if I have to service my exhaust, my diff, or something like that. I just want it to be easy, basically stock, but still have the stiffness of both braces. Alright, so we got the brace all mocked up in here, all the little tabs. I just have the bolts through them, holding them where I need them to be. Everything's lined up pretty good. It's pretty centered too, which I'm not going to complain about that. I have the ground all hooked up for the welder. We're ready to tack these on. I'm just going to tack them a couple times on both sides, then take the bolt out so I can drop the brace, lay some really good beads on these, and then put the brace back in. So let's go ahead and jump into welding. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. We got the OEM rear subframe brace put in along with the Flying Miata Cannon brace. It's supposed to only work on a 90 to 91, but here it is with the 94 and a 97 subframe, a 97 diff, and it all works. Just a little bit of custom work, but it's super sturdy. I was able to hang on it. I literally laid under my car and jumped on it and it was fine. Nothing moved, so I think it'll be fine on the track and on the street when I'm boosting it hard and everything. So should be all good to go. In our next one, we'll probably start cutting up the rear end a little bit. I want to cut out the mud flaps and all that. So I'm not running a rear bumper. I'm just running the chassis mount battle arrow wing. So I didn't feel like cutting up my bumper more than having a bumper cut already. So we're just not going to run a rear bumper. So I want to clean the rear end a lot. So you can just see the meaty tires, the differential, my bracing and everything under there. So that'll be in the next one. Stay tuned for that. But thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.